I would just be afraid that I got other people sick. Like, I would feel guilty if I, like, you know, offed on somebody's item or something. And in, like, New York, like, you're stuck in a subway smashed together. Like, that's why New Yorkers have it so much.
That'd be so awful. Can you imagine, like, the riots there, too? While having COVID? Like,
I know. And it's terrifying. Like, I think it's awesome that people are out and doing that, but I hope they're also, like, wearing masks, and because we don't need more shit.
No, well, and so, like, on Saturday when Salt Lake saw its first protest riot in a long while, the thing that I noticed is not a lot of people were wearing masks.
I noticed that too.
And I'm like, that kind of, like, because, like, if you're gonna riot, like, you kind of want to protect your identity, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, come on, you're doing yourself a favor. Where, you know what I heard that's really shady?
What's up?
Is that there's literal FBI agents here, and they are contacting tattoo shops and asking them about people's tattoos because they have, like, coverage and asking about it. So you're protesting, cover up your tattoos. Like, just because there are people who are getting, like, arrested and, like, getting charged felonies who didn't do anything because, you know, shady cops. I don't want to talk about it. It's stressing me out.
Yeah, that's
But everyone should talk about it when we're not talking about the podcast things. Everyone should be talking about it with their people.
I agree.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty relevant because it happened fairly recent.
Yeah, but there's no more curfew, which is awesome.
But there's an increase of COVID.
That's true, but I'm saying, like, people aren't going to get arrested for being out for no reason, which don't get me started about how they're sticking people in buses without social distancing for hours on end.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yep, everything. The world's on fire.
Hey, well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do you want to introduce yourself so everybody knows
Sure.
who I'm talking to?
Hi, everybody. I'm Marta Reeder. I'm a writer. I mostly write comedy. I dabble in other things, but I'm better at writing comedy, and I should probably stick to writing comedy.
Do you dabble in other things?
Like other activities? Other things? What do you mean?
I don't know. You said other things. I'm like, well, expand on your other things.
Oh, okay. So I'm saying I will attempt to write a drama every once in a while, but I get very in my feelings, and they become very melodramatic. And then I'm like, to, like, divert that, I will add comedy in, which it just doesn't work. Like, if you're trying to write a drama, you got to take it seriously. But then I feel this weird need to deflect and make it funny, because that's just, like, you know, comedians have feelings and they deflect with comedy.
Yes, they do. I recently listened to a podcast that had Anthony Jeselnik on it. I think it was on Whitney Cummings' podcast.
Okay.
Do you know anything about him?
Mm-mm.
So he's like a roast master. Like, he's the king of dark humor, and, like, he opens up his jokes with, like, these messed up. They're pretty messed up. But he was talking about how, like, they're talking about how, like, off stage, like, there's still people. And she's like, well, I thought you were hitting on me when you first met me, and then I realized you're just a nice guy. And he's like, yeah, people think I'm an asshole because of my jokes. I'm not an asshole.
Yeah, but also all people, all females are constantly hit on by gross, creepy comedians. So I had somebody, I think the second time I did stand-up, the guy said, sorry, I wasn't listening to you. He's like, you're probably funny, but I wasn't listening to you because you're a girl. And I was like, what? And I was like, are you trying to flirt with me? I was like, okay. And I stopped talking to him. So it's weird how comedians try to like kind of flirt with you by saying like, you're pretty, but then they just make themselves seem like assholes.
Did that really happen?
Yeah. I could tell you who it was, but I won't.
Okay, but that's so fucking weird.
He has a similar name to me. I'll say that. Nobody knows who he is, but I'm just not gonna say it because who knows who will attack me for it.
No, he's gonna attack you. I think it's shady.
I got attacked on your podcast last time, so I'm a little wary.
Yeah, so okay, you're on my podcast. Okay, what's going back real quick? You and I know each other from college.
Yes.
From a writing class, a screenwriting class.
Yes.
And eventually I asked you to come onto this podcast. I was trying to start up with my friend, and I asked you, our friend Brandon, and our friend Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And then that podcast turned kind of sour.
It wasn't even sour. I don't even know how we were supposed to be talking about like movies, right? That was the point of the podcast.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like nerdy topics. Like I think it was called Nerdy Artist Podcast, like NAP for sure.
Yeah. And then I had to explain white privilege to your friends.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, by the way. I'm not surprised at that.
You know what? He didn't attack. It wasn't your friend who attacked me. I feel like he listened and tried to like argue with me, but his arguments were stupid. And so it was like he wasn't attacking me. He just was asking stupid questions. And it was really hard to like be nice to him because they were so dumb. The thing that I got attacked from was a weird Twitter account. Do you not remember it?
Oh my God, yes.
And they went on my YouTube and like were saying they were using feminist like it was a bad thing, and I was like, cool. I like calling me a feminist is not bad for me. And then like he was like, you went to college for creative writing, like, but your parents are proud of you. I'm like, they are proud of me, actually. They're very proud of me. And I have gotten paid to write. So F you, Gustav the Turtle.
Gustav, that's right. So I remember Jesus. I remember on one of, I don't remember if it was, it was on a random video of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And like they tagged us in it on Twitter.
Yeah. So, and they came after me because I said this guy is an idiot, and he was mad that I said that the guy attacked he was an idiot for commenting. Yeah,
well, if you like stalk, I think it was a troll account for sure.
Oh yeah, it definitely.
They had like Nazi propaganda like all over their Twitter wall, and like I remember getting that tweet. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody listened to our episode, think it was gonna be a good thing, and then they took a sound clip and they're like, this is the shittiest episode ever. And it's like a creepy anonymous voice.
Yeah, like, yeah. And the worst is like they also called me a feminazi, but I'm like, but you have. It didn't make sense. This guy, I know it was a man. It was a man. It was a white dude. We know it. And you were like trying to figure out who it was because you thought it was somebody you knew, but you never figured it out.
I've never figured it out. I still think it's somebody that I know. Like I have an idea of who it might be. I think it might be two people actually.
Just the amount of time that this person went on my YouTube and like just got clips from my YouTube. And I was like, this is... First of all, I have no followers on Twitter. Like, nobody's going to even see this or care. So it was interesting.
That was depressing.
I realized it wasn't really it was depressing that this person had that much time on their hands, and that, I mean, they're so stupid that they can't, I don't know. I tried to find it to prove that it happened to me because people think I'm nice. And they're like, no way, nobody could be mean to you. I'm like, I can be a bitch, first of all. can be. Chaz knows this. Second of all, I don't know where I was going with this statement. I could be a bitch, and second of all, it happened. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie, but I think
it's memorable for me
because I'm so I remember because I was editing a new episode or whatever. It's 2:00 in the morning, and Chris was sleeping over at my house, so he's like passed out on the floor. And then I get that notification. I'm like, somebody likes her thing at 2:00 in the morning. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be like this asshole. And then it got me really depressed. And I was like, maybe we should do this podcast.
Oh, don't let the haters stop you.
Yeah. No,
also, your friend, I remember I arrived to shoot that podcast. He's like, he said it in the weirdest way. But he basically asked if he could bring his gun into your house.
He did.
But he said, can I come in? Something about, I don't remember how he asked it. It was so weird. And I was like, he said it really loud so I could hear it. I'm like, yeah, you need a fucking gun in Chaz's house in Woods Cross. Like, what? What the hell? I already knew that I was not going to get along with him. So.
Yeah, no, I don't know why he brought the gun in this house. He bought that gun. I was with him when he bought the gun.
Yeah.
From one of the sporting stores over here. Or not over here, out in Draper. Okay. Everyone was out there. But then we were walking in Walmart, and then he purposely brandishes it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, we have a right to carry it. I'm like, dude, stop. You're being like an asshole about it.
So weird, dude. It's very weird.
But no, he actually went on to join the military and kind of went a separate way, which is why that podcast no longer exists.
Yeah. I mean, probably for the best.
Yeah. And then I know, so Landon and I were going to do another podcast. Your movie Fillmore kind of podcast, you know? Which is why I bought the mics. And then that, we did 1 or 2 episodes, but they never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, screw it. So I decided to go solo-ish and then just interview people. So that's where you're at.
Good for you.
Boom.
Whole history. Podcast. Introduction right here. I don't know if you have an introduction. I'm a dick and I haven't listened to it. Listen to it, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I sent you links or whatever.
Yeah, he didn't tell me to. I didn't know that they were out in the world yet. I knew you had a problem with one of the people you interviewed with, because you told me about it. You had an issue. Someone, right?
Maybe.
It was a girl, and she was like,
no, that was a podcast that I was on.
Oh, okay, never mind.
She had me on, and then she totally stopped halfway through and was like, "You're not professional enough for this," and kicked me out.
Yeah. Okay.
She was trying to promote her podcast while kicking me out, and so you should listen to these other episodes to know what I'm about, and we can still be friends. This is nothing personal. And then I'm like, what the fuck? So I blocked her on everything. So I'm like, fuck you. You know what,
Chaz? You need to promote it to my phone. Why don't you text me hey, my new podcast is out?
Because I forget you don't have social media.
I have social media.
You have Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
But
I don't get on Twitter very often.
Yeah, actually, the last 2 weeks is probably the most I've seen you tweet.
Yeah,
ever.
But it's not even me.
5 years. It's not you?
I've retweet. No, I'm saying it's not even my own tweet. Some of them are, but
because
I'm retweeting other people.
Well, I remember when we first met, you had a Twitter and you used it, and then the world got really depressing, so you got off of it.
Yep.
Good call.
Trump got elected. And I was like, I can't do this.
So how are you handling things now then? Seeing as that it's 10 times worse than it was when it started.
Honestly, I feel right now there's so much more positivity. Obviously horrible things are going around, but it's everybody's together and is fuck these people, look how terrible things are, but we're gonna video record them and we're gonna not let this shit happen. So it's it's inspiring, and also it's more inspiring. I think like when Trump got elected, like everyone was just like how, like we realized like how terrible lots of people are around us. And I know I am very late to educating myself about a lot of things. I will be the first to admit I'm trying my damn hardest to educate myself, but I feel like a lot of us white people did not realize how terrible things were around us, like how people were feeling about, like, because people didn't talk about it, you know, and people are now like feeling brave to vocalize how racist and how terrible they are.
Yep.
So it's like our eyes are open, but now it's like the shit is not going to happen and people are coming together. So
the only good thing I will say about Trump, and I use that in the very, I know it makes me cringe.
Okay,
Hear me out. Is the fact that he showed us the ugly side of America that's been hiding in plain sight all along.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like a lot of this like revolution, disgusting that it had to take this person to show us like how disgusting everything is. But dumb people like me, our eyes are open. It's not gonna happen anymore unless, you know, cheating, which I don't think Trump is above. I think I don't want to talk about it. Just go vocalize where you need to, teach your friends, talk to your family, uplift the proper voices. The shit will not happen. Okay. The end.
Okay, we can use that. We can use that to segue. Believe it or not. Ready for this?
Yes.
So, being a writer, you have a voice.
Yes.
How did you find that voice?
Okay, let me think. So, I mean, I feel like I've always been a writer. Like when I was a kid, I was like writing books, and like I remember in 5th grade, I had this I called it a novel, but it was like 20 pages, and it was about an arrowhead and like all the people who found the arrowhead throughout time. And as an adult, I'm like, that is really smart. That's a cool premise. Good job, young Marta. And then I gave it to my 5th grade teacher, who was a student teacher. And on Facebook, like 3 years ago, she sent it back to me. And then she turned out to be kind of a shitty person. So I was like, good, give that back to me. You don't deserve my childhood stories. But I think basically, I don't know, I always thought I was funny. Maybe that's what, like, I like to make people laugh. And I think that was a really important part of my development as a writer. Because I just like to make people laugh and be, you know, filled with laughter. And so that's kind of where I ended up. Like I tried, as I said, I like have tried writing other things, but nothing like brings me more joy than to like know that somebody's going to laugh at something I wrote. And I don't know. I feel like that's kind of how it has been. I've always had kind of a distinct voice. I think my first ever written script, like I wanted to make like my screen direction part of my characters. So I'm always in my scripts. Like I feel like my screen direction is my personality coming out in my scripts. And I felt like that's how I'm lucky that I write comedy, because I don't think that's really given to you in other genres as much as comedy, I guess.
I can see that. I think having read a lot of your scripts, I think you definitely do have a voice. And I think it's funny because like you've told us personal experiences, you know, and then you kind of connect the dots of like how it influences certain stories.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I feel like there's like a quote that's like never, I'm paraphrasing. This is not the actual quote, but it's like, don't mess with a writer, because if you like mess with us, it's gonna be in their writing. And that's so true. That's very true.
Have you ever had somebody come up and ask you, like, was this up me? Like,
my mom has done that a couple times. And it's usually not. Like, I'm like, Mom, like, maybe when I was a teenager, I know I wrote something when I was a teenager about her, and she knew it was about her. But I don't really do that anymore. I have one friend that when my first script got optioned, I was like, oh shit, because there's a scene in it that's like basically something that happened between me and him. And so I was like, just so you know, if this actually becomes something, if this actually becomes a movie, you're gonna know that there was a situation that happened between us that's in the script. Your character in this script is a dick, but I don't actually think you're a dick. Maybe I did at the first time I wrote it, but I have healed those wounds. But yeah, no, I don't think. I wish people would approach me who I've written about and been like, is this about? I mean, not that many people have read my scripts. Like, it's a pretty small group. But I 100% hope that when these scripts get made into films, that the people who are in them watch them, because I want them to know that they suck.
They're going to connect so many dots.
I hope they do. I honestly hope that they do. We'll see. Some people probably don't even realize, like, they've done things to me that I've held on to dearly, and then they're like, oh no. So watch out, guys.
Ooh, the threat of Marta.
Yeah. Be nice to me or else I will make you look like a shitty person.
So have you, going back to the script that was optioned, is that your only script that's been optioned, or have you had other offers on scripts?
So basically, I can try to explain my job that I have right now. So basically, my job does not exist in Hollywood, because if I were to be hired by a company in Hollywood, I would already be eligible for WGA, which is Writers Guild of America. And once they take you under their wing, they make sure nobody takes advantage of you. And so basically, that's why staff writers only exist in TV, not really in film, except for Pixar, because they have a shit ton of money. But they can't afford they can afford, but they don't want to pay writers to be staffed with them. So the production company that I work for they're not associated with WGA, so they can pay me a salary that is not as much as I would be paid if I was in Hollywood. But to me, because I'm writing stuff that I want to write, that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to take for sure. If I could do that forever, I would. But because I work for them full time, the stuff that I worked on while I was working for them, they technically own it. So most of my work they've either bought from me, or it was a work for hire. So basically they were like, cool, that sounds like a good idea, go write it. But my salary was my option fee. But yeah, so all of my work is owned by them, except for some stuff that's not worth them their money.
Do you have the option to try to buy those scripts back, buy the rights back?
I could, but so basically what is happening is I'm going to be moved to contracted work, just because we haven't sold any of our scripts, so we're not making any money. Our parent company is we're not going to pay you for this anymore because you're losing us money, which I understand, but also our parent company is not part of the film industry, so they don't understand to make films, it takes a lot of time and connections, but once you make those connections, that's when you'll start making money. But if they decide that they're not going to be part of the film industry anymore, they're like, we're not going to have the person who is like in charge of it right now, we're not going to have him do that anymore, then like my boss, it's in writing. It needs to be in contract. Said he's going to give us the rights back to it, to the stuff that he has, that is ours. But here's the thing is like, it's the hard truth that writers are always taken advantage of, and it's kind of, you just have to let it happen. And the chances of him making connections with people and getting it made are way higher than if I went and took it to competitions. Like, right. It's because he knows people and he can make the connections that I can't make. So once that happens and people like notice me, like I'm going to have a way better luck in LA once like people have seen what I've written. So it's a weird, hard thing to deal with, but I can write more things that are mine and try to get them made. That's, yeah.
Because I remember you did try to film one of your short scripts. I think it was before you started working for the company you worked for. Been seeing how much people like really into that, you know? Like, I want to see your stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
make it happen.
I do too. Honestly, like, I don't know. It's really hard. I honestly think that once I'm doing contracted work, because I don't have, at this time, I'm still working for them full time. I don't have time to like work on side projects really. Because yeah, I'm just trying to finish stuff for them.
Yeah.
But once that's done, I'm going to really try to focus on writing more shorts and hopefully getting some people to help me. The problem that I've run into is that I don't know much about directing or anything. And so those things that I write have always been directed by men, and they turn into this weirdish kind of thing that I don't really want it to be. So I feel like if I do it, I think I need to like be co-director or something, and also not act in it. I don't like acting. I just don't know any actors, and so that, like, I would feel bad not paying them, but maybe I could pay them for this, like, depending on, like, I don't know, do not GoFundMe, Kickstarter or something, so we could actually get real actors. Because I won't watch it if it has me in it. I haven't even. Are you talking about my fan fiction that I posted on? What are you talking about? What short are you talking about?
I'm talking about the one that Dan started with Quincy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know what happened. I mean, it's buried on YouTube somewhere.
No, yeah, I'll watch it every now and then. Only to see myself because I like acting it.
You were good. You were very good in it.
If you have an acting role, that'll be the only thing on there.
I know. And I love our special effects. The effects that we did was so amazing. That's what I'm most proud of. I just want to take that clip out and then just like use that. Because it's not, again, like, I feel like if somebody else directed it, no, not shitting on the person who directed it, I feel like maybe I should have sat down with them and explained it a little more, because it turned out a little more serious than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot with my writing, which I didn't think that my writing could be taken in a very serious way, but it is taken seriously by people. Yeah. So, but I have a different short that I posted on Instagram because I posted a clip.
When was this?
Okay, so I'll explain the story. So I became super, there's this show, I forgot what it's called. There's a show on Netflix that's basically these people like read their diaries and like weird stuff like that. And this girl was talking about how she would write a fan she wrote fan fiction of Harry Potter, and she noticed that fan fiction sites really liked gay stuff. So, sorry, there's like a fruit fly. So she wrote Harry Potter like Harry and the enemy. What's his name?
Voldemort?
Malfoy.
Oh.
Malfoy had like a romantic relationship, and she talks about like how she knew nothing about gay sex, and it was just really weird. And then I became fascinated with fan fiction. The thing is, fan fiction is mostly sexual, and it's weird. And I'm like, why don't people write fan fictions that's not sexual and weird? So I was like, it'd be funny if somebody like wrote a fan fiction about like a super like underground indie band that nobody knows. And that sounds terrible because people know of the band I wrote about, but not in the US very much. They're very popular in the UK, not in the US. So then I like posted this thing on Instagram, and I was like, I'm going to write a fan fiction about this band Flight. And they were like, do it. They responded to me, and then I was like, oh shit, now I have to do it. And so basically I wrote it because my friend Mimi and my friend Manuel were like, we just want to make something. And I was like, okay, I'll just write that short because it's fun and funny. We shot it. It didn't turn out exactly what I wanted it to be because we don't have money and we couldn't do the special effects and stuff that I wanted. So we got Brandon, and he's a professional actor, so he's good at it. I have to act in it because I don't know any actors again. And we filmed this thing, but I felt like too embarrassed about my acting, so I only showed like this tiny clip. And then I like tagged Flight in it again because I'm stupid. And they're like, I don't know what this is, but this is amazing. And I was like, oh, it's part of a longer short that is about like a fan, like why people write fan fictions. And they're like, well, now you have to post the whole thing. And then I was like, why did I do this to myself? But then they peer pressured me because it was the band, the actual band. And so I posted the whole video. And it's not totally, like, I wish that we would have spent a little more time on it because it could have been really funny. And people liked it. Like, people were like, this is great. But yeah, but it's a learning process. But yeah, so the band shared it though. They shared it on their Instagram. They're like, more people need to do this. And I was like, oh, okay, if you really think so. But they're a great band, so everyone should listen to them so they become superly popular here.
So is that video on Instagram still?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about it. I'm gonna check that out.
I mean, you can watch it, but it's not good. You're gonna be like, Marta, don't act. And I'll agree with you. I agree with you. Don't know any actors. I was gonna ask my sister to do it, but she was pregnant and felt not cute. I was like, fine.
This is recent then?
Not that recent. My sister has a baby now. Her baby's 2 months old. It was like when she was very first pregnant.
Oh, it's like a year ago.
Yeah, it was like probably a year ago when we did it. Maybe a little bit less. I don't know. But she was like, basically, she was just like, I don't feel cute. Because it's that, that point when you're pregnant. and you like, people don't know if you're pregnant or just like getting some tummy. Even though Rebecca, it was crazy. Never mind, we don't need to talk about that. But pregnancy, man, crazy. That's true. Having a baby during COVID, that's crazy.
Did she have the baby during COVID or right before it hit?
Basically, if she lived in New York or California, she would have had to have her baby without her husband there.
Oh.
So March 27th. So like in the midst of it. And so basically what happened is she went in for a checkup. She wasn't supposed to, like, her due date was April 7th, but her doctor was like, we don't know. So her baby was breech, which means her baby was the wrong direction and she wasn't turning around. So she had to get a C-section. And they were like, we're just going to do it now because we have no idea what's going to happen with COVID within the week. So basically she texted you like, we're having the baby today. And we're like, oh, tonight, that shit's happening today. And then like an hour later, her husband texts us a picture of their baby, and we're like, what the hell? What the hell is happening tonight? What's going on? Yeah, it was crazy. And it was crazy. Poor people people who have babies during COVID have no help because you're not supposed to like commingle unless they like live with you. So they had zero help. They had people bring them food, but
there's people on my Facebook who are like, it's about the states opening, you know?
mm-hmm.
Like, they should just open so I can have my baby in peace and like with my husband. And I'm like, but
they are right now.
Yeah, but but COVID is a thing that needs to stop first.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's weird that in Utah, it hasn't gotten to the point where like people can't have their husbands with them. Or has it?
No. I don't know. I'm just saying for now because
for now. I'm saying it hasn't gotten to that point yet. So there would never be a point where she had to have her baby alone. So I don't know why she needs the whole state to open up so her and her husband can have a baby.
I don't know. I've stopped questioning people's dumb posts.
Yeah,
on Facebook.
I mean, don't feel if they're willing to learn, then interact with them. But most people aren't. Still try to teach them, but who knows?
I've actually seen my friend list fluctuate.
Oh.
Yeah, it's gone down.
Like, who cares? If those people you don't want those people, if they're not willing to like listen to people and learn, then fuck them. They don't need your friend.
I fully agree. I've just because the thing is like I unfollow a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, there's a point where I'm like, at least I'm friends with them. If they don't unfollow me, they'll still see my stuff. So it's kind of like a promotion kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't know if these people that have unfriended me are people I've unfollowed, and the chances are they probably are. So I'm like,
yeah, I know. I don't pay attention. I don't have a lot of like my Instagram or Twitter. I don't really pay attention if people follow me or not. So I should maybe.
Oh,
that would hurt. That would maybe hurt my feelings. So maybe not.
Yeah, it would hurt your feelings. It's like when I look at these podcast numbers, I'm like, oh. For example,
dude, you gotta tell us that these are happening.
I know. I gotta like actually promote it. So,
yeah.
Fun fact, Marta, I wrote a review for this movie website.
Okay.
Today.
Yeah.
I will send you.
I've seen your other ones.
Which ones?
I've seen.
Letterboxd?
No, you. I think it was something on Twitter. When was Extract? Extract. Did you write something for? No,
I didn't write. No, Extract I put on Letterboxd.
There was something else I read, I thought.
You probably did then. No, you probably did because I forgot you were on Twitter. But because I share it on both. But so like for example though, so today I was watching YouTube because I was trying to figure out how to do video intros for the podcast if we do videos of the Zoom calls on Facebook or whatever, or YouTube in your case, right? And the first video that popped up was not related at all to like what I was searching, but this YouTuber is like, can you make money off writing for Medium through their paid membership, right? Or their paid service or whatever it's called. And basically the way she was explaining how it works is that like they have premium services, like you don't have to be a part of it at all, but you can still write for it. And then those who subscribe that amount of money, if they click on your article, you get a portion of that money.
Cool.
This is how she was explaining it. And she did a follow-up video. This is where I'm saying like the followers, right? She did a follow-up video saying like, oh, guys, 2 weeks later, guess how much money I made? 6,000 or whatever. And I'm like, you fucking kidding me? You only have 5 articles on there. Then I realized what she did. Smart. Mm-hmm. She posted the video of her writing, being like, when you make money, here's the math, blah, 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 blah. She has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So, of course, all those followers are going to go and click on that and get her free money. And she made another video on it to double down on that. So more people would go to that. And I'm like, that's how you make money is you have to have 1 million followers on a different platform. Yeah. But also, like her videos are actually really good. So like, I'm not talking crap on her. Like they're actually
but
made.
I mean,
the method. I'm like, ooh. And then somebody in the comments is like, why didn't you create like a fake profile on Medium?
Yeah, that would have been better.
See if anybody actually, reads your stuff, because the second they see your name pop up on Medium, it's gonna get shared, and then the second you announce it on YouTube, guess what? Like it should have been like a 2-month process of your earnings, not like a week-long process,
Yeah. Yeah. Don't trust it.
That's where I was going with the followers.
Followers. Follow me. Just kidding. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Okay.
Content.
So, do you have a movie that kind of like inspired you to pursue writing? Or a book?
I remember. So, yeah. Okay. When I was a kid, there was this book called Nowhere to Call Home. I actually reread it as an adult, and it actually is like super like timely, because it's about basically the Great Depression, and this rich girl, her dad loses all of his money and then he like kills himself. Which for fifth, I think I was in 6th grade, I was like, oh, it is like hard to read. As an adult, I was like, what? How did I not remember this other thing happened? But basically it's about like the huge gap between like super high rich people and like, in this case, because it's in the Great Depression, like they are called hobos, and it's just people who would like travel on train tracks and like do work. They had like special signs that they would etch into fences that says, "Oh, this person will pay you in food if you do this for them." It was like a code word, and that like I was obsessed with that book. And I love it, and I actually would love to adapt that into like a miniseries, because I think it's still very timely right now. But that inspired me to like try to write novels. But then basically, when I got into the U, I took Paul's class, and I realized like how much I loved writing screenplays. And I think I always kind of the movie I watched that I was like, I want to do something like this, was Across the Universe when I was 17. That came out. It's a Beatles movie. It's directed by, I can't think of her name. Let me look it up. That's so weird. I love her. I should know her name. But I was like, at that time, I didn't really understand what I wanted to do with film, because like I just didn't know that much about it.
Yeah, it's such a broad art form.
Julie Taymor is her name. But basically it's like this awesome mix of like music that I loved, and like these amazing images, and also just like a great story overall, like a great ensemble cast. And I knew I wanted to do something that was like that. So I was like 17, but I didn't know exactly which avenue I wanted to do it in. I remember I got a camera for Christmas, and I'd never used it because I didn't like know how to really create stories for the screen. So like I took steps, they were just the wrong steps. But yeah, I think what a movie really like made me be like, I want to write this type of movie was either 2 movies, Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe and Obvious Child by Gillian Robespierre. I don't know if it's Gillian or Gillian. Could be either. Those 2 movies, Almost Famous is about this 15-year-old kid who pretends that he is a journalist, and Rolling Stone contacts him, and he follows this band around that he loves. And it's just like the story, him trying to get the story, and it's a story about, music and how people connect with it, which I'll say 60% of my scripts have some sort of music element in them. And then Obvious Child is about a girl that needs to get an abortion, but it's like told in a really like raw and hilarious way. Like it's weird to like you find yourself laughing a lot, but it's a very serious story. And I love Jenny Slate. And so those are kind of those are the categories I usually try to fall into. So like all of my scripts have a backbone. Like it's not just a comedy. It's like it has to mean something to me or the world or whatever.
Have you tried writing prose like again?
Kind of. So do you know like Reductress or The Onion?
I know The Onion. I've never heard of Reductress.
Yeah, so Reductress is just like it's just basically The Onion, but slightly different. Probably more targeted towards women, even though everything they post is funny and I think men would like it too. But I've written stuff like that where I just think something stupid, so I write a satire about it. I've also considered like one of my favorite, her name is Kelly. Let me look. She actually, her first film was supposed to premiere at South by Southwest, but obviously that got canceled. So I don't know what's happening with that. Kelly Oxford. She she wrote a bunch of like nonfiction books and they were hilarious, and she was friends with Jimmy Kimmel. She actually was the person who created mean tweets by celebrities. So you know how yeah, she had that idea, and she came up with that. So she's just really funny. And I don't remember where I was going with this. Oh, she wrote a bunch of nonfiction books, and I was like, I kind of want to try that because weird shit always happens to me, and I bet I could find a way to like compile it into a book. But I honestly, because of my job, I don't want to get burned out with writing, and because it's my job, 40 hours a week, I kind of have to give myself breaks. Like, I love writing and I would be doing it all the time, but I would literally not be doing anything else if I did it in all my free time. So I haven't gotten to it, but when I'm doing contracted work, I'll be working less hours. So I'll probably start doing it then.
I got you. I've tried to go back to that style of writing.
Yeah.
After you've been writing scripts.
It's hard. It's so much harder. It is so much harder. Like when I read, I'm like, oh my gosh, they have to come up with so much more things.
Yeah.
They have to like describe so many more things. How?
Right now. Well, so right now, have you seen The Outsider on HBO?
I've watched in a very weird. My sister was watching it. I watched it like third episode in until like the second to last episode. I need to watch it. Basically, yeah. Go on. You
need to watch it. So I watched that, and I was reading the book at the time it was airing, and then me being so busy, I don't really have time to read books. But I want to get back into it. I do think that can help writing just in general, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Workflow. So I've been reading that lately, and Stephen King's very heavy on description, and I'm like, dude, like I don't like, and then I'm trying to compare it to the show. And I'm like, hey, how would you describe that on the page? To adapt to that, right? And basically, when I forgot her name, the chick, the psychic chick that they get in the show.
There's a psychic chick?
I don't know if she's psychic, but she's
like the detective that's like really smart and
she's the private investigator.
Yeah, detective. She's Cynthia. Yeah. I don't know how to say her last name, but she's an amazing Broadway actress.
And she's British. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
I didn't know that. But
she was in The Color Purple on Broadway. Listen to it. Her voice is so beautiful. Anyways, go on.
Well, so in the show, she's introduced in like the first episode. Yeah. In the book, she's not introduced till like halfway through.
Well, think about it. You can't do that. You can't really do that when people would get pissed if you introduce a main character like the last episode. You'd be like, what the hell?
Well, I know. And so like they tie elements of her in the last half all the way to the first episode. And like, so they find ways to like, I don't know. Writing is such a like math equation sometimes. It gives me a headache.
Dude, I get you.
And then whenever you're thinking of like issues you're having with your script, right? Or like just your story in general, you're like, well, this has to happen for this to happen. And you like start bouncing off of people who aren't writers and they're like, does it have to happen? You're like, yes. Like, you don't understand it. It has to happen. Like, it is a thing. Also, this is your pen that I stole from you. But I'm like, it is a thing. So.
But also, think of how much more, like, if you had to change something in a novel, like, how much harder it would be to, like, change it throughout your whole novel. Like, for me, like, people are like, hey, there's something wrong with this part of your script, and you can usually, like, fix it in a day, depending on what it is. Obviously, if it's a whole rewrite, then no. But, like, in a novel, like, think about if you had to change something, you'd have to, like, reread, like, 150 pages, and it was, I just don't. Yeah, it would be hard. I don't.
Then I wonder, though, like, because, like, the screenplays, I feel like screenwriters worry more about the page count because, you know, like, the rule of thumb is 1 page is 1 minute, roughly, give or take.
Yes, yeah.
But when writing a book, like, I don't know if that, they probably don't even care. They're just telling their story. And if it ends up being, like, almost 1,000 pages, they're like, so what? Like, that's my story.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't even.
Well, then I get so OCD because, like, with, like, screenwriting software. So I use Fade In. I don't know what do you use, like Celtics?
I use Celtics, yeah.
So, like, with Fade In, I'm, like, so OCD. I'm like, all the character names have to be bold. Like, it has to be this and this, you know? Like, it has to be. And then whenever I start trying to write in Word, like, the format is not there at all. And, like, I get so OCD about it. I'm like, I need, like, if I was going to write a book, I would need to set all the margins first. That way I know what exactly I'm fucking dealing with.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I don't know. I'm very impressed with anybody who writes novels. I know I went to high school. So me and this kid, his name is Greg Hanks. So people can look up his book. Ooh. It's on Amazon. It's like a trilogy. In high school, me and him were the creative writing kids. So basically we had a creative writing class and we took it like all 3 years of high school. And like we would help each other and stuff. And he is writing like a trilogy, and his first novel is like an absurd amount of pages. And I was like one of his first readers to give his response. And I probably gave him the wrong advice. Sorry, Greg. But I was like, you should try writing this action a little more like a screenplay. Because in my head, I was like, oh, there's so much but that's what people want, is they want to know, like, what sound, like, somebody's stab wound sound like, or stuff like that. When it's, like, in a screenplay, you're like, oh, you don't have to, you barely describe it because you know somebody's going to just go in there and, like, choreograph
Slash.
It. Yeah. So, I feel bad. Greg Hanks, I'm sorry that I told you that. It's just the screenwriter inside of me. But it's great. I'll look it up for you. I know one's called like Recussant, I think. Just so we can, you know, local Utah writers.
Well, but by the time this airs or is released, this episode, episode 10 would have been out for a couple weeks, and on that I had J.R. Curtis on, who's a local filmmaker, but he also has a book out on Amazon, and he's my age. I'm like, dude, how the fuck? Like, how? He's like, I don't know, I just like writing.
Okay, so his first one is called Daughters. His second book is called Recussant, and I know there's another one that's on the way, but you can get it on Amazon. And people like it. It's like a okay, maybe I shouldn't describe what it is, but I think it's, like, I read it. It seems like a fantasy, like, sci-fi-ish.
I'm so down for
that. Dude, read it. I liked it. It's not usually a genre I read, but I enjoyed it. So look him up.
I also, I know too, you and I have talked a lot about Jane Eyre.
Are you talking about the Jane Austen, the author?
Jane Austen, yes.
Or Charlotte Bronte is the author of Jane Eyre.
Oh, okay. So either or, you and I have talked about both.
Yes. I'm a nerd.
Are those? So have you read those books then?
Yeah, I had a whole class. I had a Jane Austen class. It was my favorite thing in the world. I read all the Jane Austen novels and wrote papers on them, and watched shows that were based. It was great. Yes, I've read all of them.
So is that your favorite classical author?
Yeah, I would say so. Classical. I mean, what could be considered classical, though? Like things from the 19th century?
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, also, hers are a little more gothic. You want like a peppy, like happy. Jane Austen always has happy endings, so you want a happy ending, not in a sexual way. I like raised my eyebrows, and then I was like, no, there is no sex in any of those novels, so don't look forward to that. My sister's coming inside. Sorry, 1 second. Take a pause. I'm on a podcast, so you need to like be quiet. All right. What were you saying?
I love how your sister just makes noise all the time.
She does. Get out of here. You can walk. That's my sister.
We're talking about Jane Austen and all that.
Yeah.
Classical. You were talking about Peppy. Who would the Peppy writer be?
So Austen is like way more happy. Like all of her endings are like happy endings. The Bronte sisters, there's Charlotte and Charlotte Bronte. Oh my gosh, why can't I?
Brain fart.
But they're a little more gothic, so they're like creepier and not like super creepy, but they're gothic.
Which one?
Just like
which author? Well, which author would be considered emo in today's standards?
Oh, Bronte, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Sister Charlotte and who? Tell me.
I don't know.
Emily. Wait, what? How come Charlotte's not on this? Emily. Yeah, she's a novelist. And she wrote Wuthering Heights, which I also have read. And then Charlotte Bronte wrote Jane Eyre. And they're both like the more, depressing ones. So if you want some depressing, Jane Eyre is like wacko crazy, but it's actually, for the time, it's very feminist. It's not now, obviously, but it's in the ending. I'm not going to tell it. I mean, everyone knows. Jean marries Mr. Rochester after he goes blind and after his hand gets chopped off.
That's awful.
Have you never heard of Jane Eyre?
I've never.
Okay.
You've taught, like I said, you've mentioned it quite a bit, and I'm like, these books go way over my head.
So basically, it's this very young girl who was like tortured by her cousin. Like he would do terrible things to her, and then like her aunt who hates her sends her to this like school, and then they're really mean to her, and then her best friend dies, and then she comes out of school, and she's really smart because the school makes very well educated women. And then she goes and she gets a job as a governess, which is like a teacher for Mr. Rochester. Mr. Rochester's illegitimate child that he will not say is his, but it totally is. She's French, and he hates French people, even though he had an affair with a French woman. There's lots of flaws with Mr. Rochester, but he's very well spoken and poetic, and like he's actually very ugly in the book. In my favorite adaptation, which is actually directed by a person who directs horrors, Cary Fukushima.
Oh.
He has directed
It. Oh no, he was set to direct It, but then.
Oh, sad.
That fell through. If we're talking about the same guy, is he the one that did the TV series on Netflix?
Let me check. Jane.
Or the whole first season of True Detective?
Fukin. I said his name wrong. Cary Fukunaga. He did It. He was something for It.
Yeah, no. So he wrote a draft for It. He was attached to direct it, and then he had to leave because one
that's
of
a
brothers
producer.
was like, nope. Yeah. Yeah.
No. He was True Detective. He did True Detective and Maniac.
Beast of No Nation, Maniac.
Yeah.
He's set to do the new James Bond movie.
Yeah. So he directed this. My favorite Jane Eyre. He has Michael Fassbender, who is like seriously hot, and you're like, okay, that's not really Mr. Rochester, because Mr. Rochester's supposed to be ugly, and Jane Eyre is supposed to be plain. But Mia Wasikowski.
Oh, one of the Wachowski sisters?
No. Wasikowska. She's most known for the new Alice in Wonderlands.
I've never seen any of those.
Well, she's the main girl. Or Guillermo del Toro, she was in Crimson Peak.
I saw Crimson Peak. I really liked, by the way.
Did you know? Okay, here's an interesting thing to tie this in. There is a line that Tom, what's his name? Tom Hiddleston, his character, he quotes Mr. Rochester in it. You know the part where he's like talking about it, and he's like, I feel like there's a part of my rib that's connected to your rib, and you'll just walk away and forgive me, and I'll just like bleed out internally. That is a Mr. Rochester line. Like, they just took it, and I think it's supposed to be because his character stole that from Mr. Rochester because he, him and his incest sister. Sorry, spoilers. You should say spoilers before that. But she's trying to set him up, but he suddenly falls in love with her. But anyways, isn't that crazy? I was like, oh my God. And she is Jane Eyre in Jane Eyre.
The more you know. She's Australian, too.
Yeah, I knew that.
I didn't know that. I'm looking at her thing.
Also, another thing about this. Basically, Mr. Rochester is hiding his mentally ill wife in his attic. And she like comes out and like stabs people and stabs her brother. And then Mr. Rochester hides it. And then he's like, I don't marry me, Jane. And then she's like, you have a wife. And then she runs away. And then his wife dies. And then they can get married. I just told you the plot.
That's fucking emo.
Yeah. So Bronte and Wuthering Heights, I haven't read it for a long time, is also very emo. So, Bronte if you want emo, Austin if you want happy.
So, when you went to school, did you go for English then?
Yeah.
So that's why you took all these classes?
So, funny story. The University of Utah, when I transferred, so I went to Slick and I got my associate's degree, and then I transferred to the U. And my first advisor was like, oh, you know what? I told her like I was more interested in creative writing than like the more academic English. She's like, cool, we'll just make it your diploma be English with emphasis in creative writing. So it's basically being like, it's creative writing, not really the academic part of it. So I took all these like creative writing classes, like basically that's what I mean, you're required to take a certain amount of English classes, like critical theory and a seminar of some kind. And then when I went to go fill out my graduation papers, my new advisor was like, that's not a real thing. Emphasis in creative writing is not a thing. And I'm like, well, so my diploma says English, but I still say emphasis in creative writing because that's truly more what I did. And it's weird because I think they actually have a master's degree in creative writing, but they don't have like a bachelor degree. But Weber State does. So if you're looking for a bachelor's in creative writing, go to Weber State, not the U.
I like the
Sorry.
U.
I know, I do. And I honestly, I really did get like a creative writing degree. But the thing is, like, my diploma doesn't say it. Like, you can work your way around it and choose great classes. Like, I had so many great classes at the U.
That's how it was with film. Because you're required to take so many film classes, but there's so many. Like you get to choose what you kind of like want to hone in on.
Yeah, so. That's how English was too. And I actually really appreciated my critical theory class because I think every person that goes to college should take a critical theory class because basically it just teaches you how to think critically, which I think that is a big problem in the United States of America and why people do not make logic decisions.
No, they do not.
So everybody take a class. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. That class was probably the hardest class ever, but it was very, very interesting.
Do you have any fears of pursuing writing?
Yeah, everything about it.
I think why you were like looking into it, were your parents at least supportive of it, or do they have that?
Oh yeah. No, so I'm the youngest, first of all, and my mom has always been supportive about anything creative I've done. But my dad, I feel like lots of baby boomers have the same idea. My dad's a good baby boomer. Let's just get that clear. He is a very good person. But things that most baby boomers do is they say, well, take something that you like to do, but like do it in a better, like in a way that you can get a job. So he did that with the rest of my siblings. So my sister went to architecture school. She hated it. She's not an architect. She's an artist, which she wanted to do. In the very first, she wanted to get an art degree, but she went to architecture school and it sucked. We'll just skip my brother because I don't think my dad really told my brother to do anything. But he's a great person too. My sister, Rebecca, has a very good math brain. And he's like, well, you and me, we both got math brains. Why don't you do an electrical engineering degree? Which she did, which she hated. And that's her job. And she doesn't hate her. Well, she doesn't really love her job. And so by the time I went to college, they're like, do whatever the hell you want. We're not going to tell you to do anything. And so that's why I got an English. I'm sure my dad would have told me to maybe try to do like journalism or something, which maybe I should have. I don't know. Sometimes. But yeah, being a writer is scary, especially like once it's made and out there, and then like people will most definitely shit on it. For sure, unless you're like Nolan and you just like have blinders on and you don't care and you can make whatever you want and you'll make a shit ton of money and nothing matters.
Yeah, people still shit on Nolan.
Yeah, but like he's so rich and he can literally do whatever the fuck he wants. Like it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, he's reached that level of making these mindfuck blockbuster movies.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what people say. People are still going to give him money to make his movie. Same with like Wes Anderson. Same with Taika Waititi at this point. I love Taika, but I want him to do more of his old stuff.
Yeah.
Not Marvel movies. Which, good for him, because he actually films them in like New Zealand and gets New Zealanders paid money to do stuff. So,
did you watch The Mandalorian at all?
No.
Okay, so he did an episode of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually really funny because it actually involved stormtroopers missing shots. Because you know how they always say they have bad aim? He actually implemented that into this episode. And that's when they announced that he's attached to a new Star Wars series. And then on this other podcast I was on, or that co-host, I guess. Yeah. I do co-host it. It's pretty good. We were discussing about exactly what he could bring to Star Wars. And we're like, oh my God, a Stormtrooper movie.
Yeah.
How great
is that what he's doing?
Nobody knows.
I don't know.
Nobody freaking knows.
Sorry. I'm not familiar enough with Star Wars to like be excited for a Stormtroopers movie. Because aren't they just, I feel like they just are dumb and are running around and then like not shooting people and getting shot. So if it was, I don't know. Are you whispering at me? I can't hear you. Sorry. Don't eat my Indian food.
I was going to make your last blue apron.
Oh, okay. You can do that. Sorry.
Quiet, but it doesn't even matter.
Okay. What?
Would you ever work for a big studio like Marvel then if they wanted to hire you for your comedy? Or would you rather be like one of those what do you call it? Rewriters? Where you rewrite stuff? A script doctor, there we go.
Yeah, I don't know, really. I can't say. Like right now, the thing is, Marvel wouldn't fucking hire me to do anything. Because I don't know anything about superheroes.
But they want you to like script doctor like all the comedy, all the Joss Whedonism that he set up.
I could maybe do that, but the thing is, like, I don't know if my comedy would really fit in a Marvel movie, but maybe I would try it.
I don't know. I don't like Marvel, so I'm just asking a question.
Also, if you can hear my sister, I can go to a different room because she's doing loud things, even though I told her not to do loud things.
No, you're fine. I can't really hear it.
Okay.
Okay, going off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever go back into stand-up then?
Oh, yeah. I was planning on doing that until then Corona came in with her fiery fist and punched that in the face. So
you were actually thinking about doing it again?
Oh, I started to. Like, I did 2 shows, and then things started getting crazy.
See, I remember you had to offer to buy me and Brendan beers to come out and support you at one of your shows.
Yeah.
It was great though. Like I seriously like that you got brought up.
Was it at the Metro?
The one in Sandy.
Oh, okay, Ice House. Yeah.
That one is there, and then there was one that was up in Salt Lake. It wasn't the Metro, I don't think. It was for St. Patrick's Day actually, and Dan was there.
I don't remember. Cool. I don't remember.
That was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. How long have we known each other?
A long time. I don't know.
I don't know either.
4 or 5 years?
That feels
probably.
Forever.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I definitely wanted to do. I had jokes written out, but they're Wise Guys open for open mic, but it's just I don't feel safe enough to do it, especially because they sanitize the microphone, but like it's just not safe enough for me.
Not worth it right now, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'm glad you're getting back into that though, because like when I brought you up on Mira's episode, I was seriously like, I think she's still doing it. I don't know. Maybe this is like being a dead horse, where she's like, no, I've given up. But no, that makes me happy.
No, I totally wanted to get back into it. But yeah, COVID, man.
What was your worst experience doing stand-up?
Good question. Okay, so me and this person that I will not say their name, we used to do like charity events, which you've been to them. And this one time he's like, hey, let's do 3 nights. And one of the nights was on Super Bowl Sunday. And I was like, we should not do it on Super Bowl Sunday because nobody's going to come. And then he was just like, no, let's just do it. We already have the place. Let's just do it. And I was like, okay. And then it was horrible. There was like 3 people there. They did not even pity laugh for me. I'm like, if you're here to support a different comedian friend, fucking laugh at the people because they were not true. Their laughs were fake for the other people. So I'm like, you could have at least fake laughed for me. What the hell? So it was like the worst thing ever. I literally did like probably 3 minutes and then I was like, cool, you guys hate me, bye. I literally said that. And I was like, this is not worth it. we made maybe $50 because people, like the people who came, like gave us tips and we donated them. But I was like, I told you this was a bad idea, number one. Number two, your friends don't even fucking pity laugh for the other comedians. They pity laugh for you, and your jokes are not funny, in my opinion. That person never goes to open mic either. So.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you would. He would co-host with me.
I think I know who you're talking about. I'm not surprised.
So whenever, like, the events that, like, I personally invited a lot of people to, they wouldn't really laugh at him. And then I'd be like, let me take over. Yeah. So he's a nice person. I just was mad that we did it on that day when I said it was a bad idea and that his friends didn't laugh at my jokes. That we're good.
But, I mean, you do a lot of charity stuff still. I know 2 years ago you did one with it was
the Trevor Project.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did three different ones. One was for the White Helmets. One was for Trevor. Oh, and Hispanic Federation after giant hurricane. So sorry, I had to text somebody.
Look at you.
I would try to do one now, but COVID.
Damn COVID.
So, yeah.
Cool.
I have a different idea that I hopefully will make money, but it's going to take a lot of work on me. If I do it, I'll let you know. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to be held accountable.
No, what is it? No, what's held you accountable? What is it?
So I had this idea. I don't know if this is a good idea, but basically I want to compile a list of all the shittiest people in politics. And my sister's an artist. And just, like, she's going to draw some really ugly pictures of them. And then I'm going to just be like, hey, this bag full of dicks did all this stuff. Compile it into a book that you can buy for your friends, like, as a funny joke. Like, look at all these. Or, like, buy your grandparents to let them know that they support shitty people. And sell it on Amazon. And all proceeds would be donated to, like, you know, the bail funds of people, protesters or whatever needs it at that moment. Whatever needs money. So that's what I want to do, but I need help because I need to find reliable resources on what shitty things people have done and then, like, you know, obviously amp them up in a funny way. Not that the things that they're doing is funny, but come up with funny things to call these shitty people and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I like that.
And maybe it won't make any money because nobody will buy it, but I personally can't protest because my mother, I explained it to you. I guess maybe not on the podcast. My mom had a really bad respiratory infection last year, and I'm just very paranoid. And I don't want to get my mom. I don't want to kill my mom, basically. But I want to support people. I've donated and done all that stuff, so that's
I would donate if I could afford it.
Right now I can afford it, so I'm donating as much as I can while I have money. We'll see how long. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's sort of wrap this up because it's
okay. Yeah, we talked for a long time. Yeah. Good luck editing this.
I'm not gonna edit any of it. That's video.
Oh.
This is the first. So doing the videos, I told myself I can't. So, like, with just audio, I could edit stuff out. Like, I mean, we talk for 3 hours and say, like, the most shittiest things ever, and then, like, edit them out, right? Good laughs in the moment. Probably not good for the podcast. But the videos, I'm like, with the videos, I'm like, no, because that's a lot of cutting, a lot of fading. People are going to know I cut it out. I'll force myself to be kind of, like, structured. Kind of, you know, so if you see me looking over, it's because I'm like, okay, we're almost to the bottom. So
that makes sense.
So wrapping this up, I just have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
How do you hope to inspire others? Is my first question.
I mean, I would just hope. I mean, I can't really inspire people right now. Just write. I mean, write as much as you can. If you love it, then you should be doing that anyways. I just hope one day that I have connections that people can, like, I can help people who don't have connections, because I think that's the biggest thing is like there's not really many writers that are like, hey, reach out to me so I can help you build your career and introduce you to people. And so hopefully I can like create something that can help people who don't have those kinds of connections. That's how I would hope to inspire. Just like keep writing. Even if I'm going to tell you now, like I have worked my ass off on scripts and we've turned them into blacklists, and we have basically perfected these scripts and still people hate them. So don't get put down. Like I write professionally and our scripts still somehow get shit on. And it's really just like about who you know. It has nothing to do with how good your script is. Honest to God.
I agree. There's some awful movies out there that get made.
Yeah.
And they get funded millions of dollars. Like, how the fuck?
Yeah. Like, so it's like, just keep trying. You're going to get rejected all the time. Most of the time you are. But I think most people who are writers, like that's not going to stop them just because you just do it.
You got to Shia LaBeouf it.
Just do it!
And that kind of ties into my last question.
Okay.
Which is like, what's one piece of advice that has stuck to you throughout the years, and how do you apply that?
Best advice is just listen. Sorry, my cat's scratching my couch. Stop! Okay. My best advice is listen to feedback. Learn how to take feedback. Even if it's shitty feedback, don't be it takes a long time to learn this because I still probably sometimes do this. Don't get defensive about it because you're the one that's in control of it. If you hate something that somebody says, like just don't listen to it. But to be in this business, so many people are going to tell you to change something, and you have to find a way to do it, but still like be true to yourself.
Yeah.
So I would say best advice is get in a writer's group and critique the shit out of each other and learn how to like apply it and not get offended by it and not take it personally, which is really hard when you've been working on something for years and somebody shits on it to like not get offended by it.
And that's one thing that Paul's class actually taught me is how to constructively not only give feedback but also take.
But like take it.
Right.
And pretend. Even I've gotten some stupid feedback, and you just are like, okay. Or like sometimes I don't even write it. I pretend I'm writing it because it's so stupid that it offends me, but I pretend to hide it.
I feel like you've done that with me before.
I guarantee I have, but I'm more upfront with you. I'll be like, that's stupid, and I'll say it to your face.
I love it. Okay. Well, where can people find you? Drop your social stuff.
All of my actually, I think my Twitter is just Marta Crooked Gut. Like it's just not plural. And my Instagram is Marta Crooked Guts with an S.
With an S. Okay. And then can they watch your shorts anywhere if you have any of them? Or your stand-ups? Do you have any stand-up videos people can watch?
Yeah, if you scroll to like 2016, 15, maybe 15, you can find some clips from it.
On your Instagram?
Oh, yeah. So, and I hopefully will soon have a website, and I'll probably post my stand-up clips until I can like get someone good to film them for me. Hey, Chaz, you can help me.
Yeah, we'll talk. This is the perks of knowing film people.
I know. Just come and sit in the crowd. It doesn't have to be like good. You just film it.
That's good.
On a good camera.
Okay, you guys can follow the podcast on the interwebs, Instagram and Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
Hecka fricka,
yeah.
Yeah.
See you.
Bye.